you want to jump into, we can go ahead and do that.
Okay. So I would like to know, I actually have some questions.
Sure.
For your payroll feature,
Mm-hmm.
the module, you obviously can process payroll, and then do you do direct deposit or?
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, if I go into, as an example, if I just follow up an employee real quick here, we'll go to my buddy Carlos. So on the tab for Carlos, there's a direct deposit tab, and then you can have up to 4 different bank accounts.
Okay.
To deposit that, and then email. And so we use Sage 100 here, and then, well, probably today or tomorrow, I'll open up my email, and I will have my check stub in my email. The nice part is that you have to enter the last 4 digits of your Social Security code to open it up, so not anybody can open it up, but it will actually be emailed to them.
And how are wage garnishments treated?
Same, so basically it's just setting up a different, in here, I don't know if I have one, let me look real quick.
Okay.
We just set up a payroll calc. This guy doesn't have one, but it would just be a payroll calc number, whatever. Okay. 18, it would be garnishment, what the rate is, right? Right. And then if there's a limit, like when he hits $1,000, it stops. Then you put in the maximum, and it will stop whenever he hits that maximum.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And then payroll. Do you guys do the payroll? I see federal and state tax filing. So does that run payroll forms or?
Yes, absolutely. And then if you want, we use a system called Atrix, which is a third party that Sage enlists to keep all of the forms up to date and what have you. And then you can print on their forms. You can print on your forms, or if you get large enough, you can actually e-file all of your returns. Obviously, there's a fee for that. But if you get to the point where, hey, I just want to e-file everything and I don't want to do paper anymore, you can actually e-file through that site as well.
And what are, I'm sorry, hold on real quick.
Sure.
Sorry. And what are ACA reports?
Obamacare, Affordable Care Act.
Oh, Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, and even though, how many employees do you have now?
We have total between 2 companies, 21.
Okay, so you're legally, you don't have to do anything yet, but at some point you're going to have to do some kind of reporting. So this does the reports that are required by the government. So your full-time equivalents, your account reconciliations. It does do they have some weird numbers. It's a W something now, but it's a form that you actually have to file, and all those are in there. And if I go back to the employee, if I go back to my buddy Carlos here, if I go to the tab here, Affordable Care Act, it will start tracking all of his hours and everything, and then whether you're part of the safe harbor, which one of these you qualify for, what kind of coverage you have, and these are all government stated numbers, etc. But you'll be able to, as you hire people, fill this in, and it's going to keep all that information on file for you.
Okay. And then, so when we do the payroll, we enter timesheets. Can you open the payroll menu? I mean, the timesheet menu?
Yep, so you're just going to go right here. There's 3 ways to enter payroll. I'm going to show you the one that's the most basic.
Okay.
So this ought to look familiar. It's just, what day did I work? And we can hide some of these columns, like if you don't want to see the day. What job did I work on? What item did I do? Is it regular overtime premium pay? If you're on a prevailing wage project, what pay group is he in today? It will pull that rate in from whether it's the pay group or his standard rate. Hours I worked, the workers' comp that's assigned to that cost code, and that's it. And now you have the hours in there, and you're ready to go ahead, enter the next person, and once they're all entered, you're going to go ahead and compute the payroll. You're going to take a look at it, make sure all the numbers make sense. Then you can do the final compute, and you're ready to do checks or direct deposit.
Okay.
Okay. So that's one way. I'm going to show you. I don't know if you get your time cards daily, but if you did daily, then you would actually enter your time, Monday's time on Tuesday, Tuesday's time on Wednesday, etc. So when you get to the end of the week, you only have really 1 day left to enter. Not everybody does that, but some of the larger companies do. Okay. The way a lot of our clients enter it is using the daily field report. I'll show you why it makes sense. So if the guy in the field, the superintendent, right, he knows who's working there, right? He knows what cost code he worked on. He knows of his regular overtime. He knows the pay group, and he knows the hours, right? If he enters that on the daily field report, that will automatically feed that time card that we just looked at a couple minutes ago.
Oh.
So a lot of our companies will roll this down to the superintendent or foreman, whoever it is, or project manager, to enter this on a daily basis because A, they're the ones that are in the know, right? And B, if they do it every day, it's more likely to be accurate than if they wait till the end of the week to fill out time cards.
And so they do the daily field reports on the field, or is that when they come in?
So so I'll give you all the options because we work with about 1,500 clients. Some guys will actually dial in to the computer using like Go to My PC, right, from their laptop or something, and just open up this one screen and enter it in while they're in the field. Some will enter it when they come in the office the next morning, and some are not. And some of our companies are not computer literate at all. They actually fill out the time card the old-fashioned way each day, and then somebody in the office keys it, actually enters it in here. So there's a lot of different ways to get it in here. So most of our clients actually use Go to My PC and have the guy do it from the field, so he can do it when he gets home at night or first thing in the morning.
Okay. Okay.
And
so, again, so when you have field people accessing it, like at nighttime stuff, do you still need more like their own license, or?
So you remember it's on a concurrent basis. So you have two concurrent users. You guys are going to be in during most of the day.
Right.
These guys are coming in early in the morning and late at night. They're using the same two licenses. They're just not using them at the same time you are.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. And so there's some other information on here that I think is important. So if there's subcontractors out there, who was there, how many guys did they have, what did they do, right? Which you might want to know, right? Down the very bottom, if there's an accident, we can document everything that happened that day as far as the accident, right? If I had a meeting.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
When you go to the subcontractor tab, you have arrival time and leave time. Can the employee timesheets be like that as well, or no?
No.
Okay. So
that's something we've asked for and they haven't done yet. But yeah, it would be nice if they did the same thing here, leave time and whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But this, from the owner's perspective, this is pretty cool because if the guy does his job or woman does his job, her job, right? The next morning, you ought to be able to look and see everything that happened on every job yesterday without ever having to pick up the phone or call anybody, right? You can just say,
right.
Hey, what subs are out there? And you're going to look here, and this is a dumb example, but hey, I talked in the employment the other day, and they're supposed to have their 5-man crew out there. What are they doing with this one guy out there? Because they were just messing around, right? They're just trying to look busy, right?
Right.
But you'll be able to see that stuff, and to me, it just makes it a little bit easier to manage the company. We have a really large GC here in Southern California, a company called Hal Hayes. By the way, they weren't big when I started with them. I sold it to them probably 12 years ago, and they were doing like $3 or $4 million a year. Now they're doing well over 100. The owner has every daily field report automatically emailed to him every morning, so he knows he has every one of these daily field reports in his email when he comes to work in the morning.
Well, and that's the thing too that we're trying to have the guys fill out a daily every day.
Right.
So if they fill out a daily and they do this, then they really shouldn't have to turn in timesheets. The only question that I have though is, how is it handled? Like when they do the dailies, I mean, when we get workers' comp audits, we have to give them an example of our timesheet, and it has to have it has to have time in and time out.
Right. So you're still going to have the time card in the field.
Okay.
There's no way around that.
Okay.
It's just now that it's going to be entered here rather than being entered by payroll.
Okay.
Because you still have to have that sign. Employees still have to sign it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's a way to get around that. I don't think you're big enough today to do that, but we do have some things that run on iPads and iPhones where you can actually enter the time and the employee can sign on the iPad or iPhone or Android device. They get pretty pricey, and they're more for companies probably 50 employees or better. But this works. And what you can do here, so I have this daily field report, right? I can actually attach the signed time card for that day right to it.
Oh, okay.
So that I have the sign. So I don't have paper. I have a scanned document where those hours match, right? So like you just said, in here, out here, it's 8 hours, right? Well, it'll match to this 8 hours here, or whatever the number is, right? And then this up here on this paper clip, I have a scanned copy of the time card where everybody signed the time card at the end of the day.
Okay.
Okay. So the ways to do it, it'd be nice if they had the in and out. Okay.
Okay.
That's pretty much it here. But I think that's the way probably, I don't know, 70% of our clients do it. Still have a lot that still do paper time cards. You know, they just never got away from it.
Okay. Okay, so after we do that, I send out a job report to my project managers for billing purposes so that they know what jobs haven't been billed and how many hours are allocated, materials, and labor. Where, I know, would it be project management? And if I remember correctly, there used to be a job report that had that broken down with hours and then all the rates. So
there's a couple ways to do that. So there's a lot of people use this right here because it doesn't show sales price. So this one is by work item, right? By cost code. Okay. The hours budgeted for each one, the material, labor, equipment, and subcontract budget for each one. If it's something that you're doing yourself, the unit of measurement and the actual quantity that was estimated. Okay. So that's the budget. I mean, that there's no markup on that, so they're not seeing any of your sales prices. Right. That's their target, right? Okay.
And what does it look like when I print out to them? Because I would be sending this to them.
So this is like, we'll just do landscape. I don't have any notes, but I'll do it with notes. It would look something like this. I didn't pick a job, so it's printing all my jobs, but it'll take a second. So it looks something like that.
Okay.
Okay. And then if there's a note column over here, so if you wanted to, when you did it, say the earthwork is going to be, you know, ABC company in the notes, and this subcontract line is going to be, you know, XYZ company, you could do that as well.
Okay.
And then it all kind of fits onto one report.
Okay.
But I would, again, at the project manager level, I don't know if you remember this, so I'm on menu option number 6, right? And if I hit my F7 button, it allows me to say who's allowed in here. So I can say, hey, you know, the estimator or superintendent or project manager is allowed in there or whatever. Right. And if I come down here and I go to subcontracts, right, and I go to the subcontract list, I could give the permission to the superintendent to be able to run a subcontract list, right? And let me just pull this up real quick. This is a good one, I think. Let me just put one job in here. We'll put in job 4. If he has access to this, then he knows what the job is, who it is, and what the amount of the subcontract is, okay? Okay. And so you could give him access to that, and he can pull that up at any time he wants to, right? Okay. So that's the way most of our clients give people access to what they think they need, okay? Okay. Now one of them, hang on a second, it's down the bottom. Like you say, there's only like 60 different versions, and one of them has phone numbers on here, but I don't know, we remember which one it is, but one of them will have actually the phone number on it.
And then what do the subcontract, what does the subcontract look like?
It'll look like what you have today. We have very generic ones in here, but typically what most of our clients do is they create basically the first and second page, so it has the contract, the project information, the subcontractor's information, any lien filing information, okay, the scope of work, and the amount of their subcontract. And then they basically print that out and attach it to something already, some pre-printed boilerplate. The boilerplate is typically not part of the subcontract in the system. Okay. Okay, and then you just basically print that out, attach it to the rest of the boilerplate, and send it off. Okay. I've seen, hang on a second. So I've seen a couple clients, and I think this is kind of a cool idea actually, is that they create a master subcontract agreement. Okay. And it's basically all that boilerplate, right? And you may have different ones for HVAC guys versus underground guys, but basically it's a master file subcontract, which is only the boilerplate, no specific contract information. Right. They're required to sign that and then on their 1 or 2 page subcontract says, this subcontract needs to be in compliance with the master file subcontract agreement you signed and that we have on file. And they don't even have to send a boilerplate. So there's one boilerplate, lasts forever until you want to change it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a master agreement.
It's a master agreement, and you may have a couple different formats of it, but that way, if you put in a sub on 10 jobs in a couple of months, he doesn't have to have 10 copies of the master, of the boilerplate that hasn't changed, and he just has one on file. And I think a lot of our clients are leaning that way, kind of reducing paper, number one. Number two is they don't change from job to job typically.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And as I always say, asterisk, check with your attorney to make sure he agrees with me, but I think he will.
Okay. And then can we jump to, can you open the accounts receivable? I just kind of want to see what that looks like. So if I want to create an invoice.
Is that a progress bill or is that a time and material?
No, it's going to be just a regular, like, one time.
Yeah, so that's number 2 here, which is just what I call our plain Jane invoice, right?
Right.
You know, test AR is for this job, and it's it's one quantity of one, and I don't know what the price I put on here, $2,100, and it's not taxable. Boom, done.
And then what does that look like when can you email it from here to the client?
Oh yeah, so you're I forgot about that. So let me go through that real quick. Top right, obviously I can print it to a piece of paper, kind of old school, right? Preview it on the screen. That's what we've been doing. I can print all of the reports to Excel, to Word, to PDF, and most likely I'm just going to hit my Outlook button.
Okay.
And then it'll pull up my contact list, pick my contacts, and the invoice is already attached as a PDF to it.
Okay.
And it looks something like that. Very plain, but who's built to, your logo and what have you.
Pretty much looks the same.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. You know how much you can do in an invoice.
So for the invoice though, we have to have certain certain categories listed or fields on the invoice. Can we add like a user-defined field on there that it will print?
So so if I go through, so like here's the client's PO number. That's usually one that people want on there, right? Is there some kind of reference number? There it is. Okay. And these two over here, they're kind of grayed out, are user-defined 1 and 2. Okay.
And they're grayed out because?
I didn't want it. So yeah, that's a good question. So if I hit my F7 button again, I said that I wanted to skip that during entry. So when I hit my enter button, it automatically skips by that field.
Okay.
If I turn that black now and save this, it's actually black, so I can enter in there. But sometimes you don't use the field, so when I'm kind of entering real quick, when I hit my enter key, it'll just skip right by that field when it's grayed out.
Okay. And then the accounts payable is pretty self-explanatory. Probably hasn't changed very much.
No, actually, it's pretty much the same. It still warns you when your insurance is expired on your vendors and what have you as you're entering.
So when you do, okay, so keying in a vendor, it has a space for like the certificate of insurance and like their all that information?
Yeah, a lot more than that too. So if I go to account of the vendors here, go to my friend Home Depot here, right? So generic information, right? Some financial information, your federal ID number, the account number, whether they get a 1099 or not, okay? Invoice defaults, which we really, really encourage you to do. It will just save you some time. What ledger account does it go to? What cost code is the normal cost code? Is it usually material or equipment? And once I do that, when I ever enter invoice from Home Depot, it automatically enters all this information in for me, and I don't have to enter it. And so the more defaults you set up, the easier it's going to be for your other people. Okay. And then if I come down to the very bottom, there's a tab that says certificates. This is where I enter all their insurance certificates and the expiration dates.
Okay. Yeah, now
I'm pretty sure you had this before, but a lot of our clients were like, so if I want to look at all of the open invoices for Home Depot, I don't have to run an agent. I can just go to Home Depot and say, hey, open up all the invoices. Those are all the open invoices I have. And I can drill down to the actual, if I want to look at this invoice, I just double click that, and there's the actual invoice that I entered.
Okay. And how do you enter just because in QuickBooks I enter, well, no, I don't enter it the same way. If I'm doing one of my guys goes to Home Depot and they use the card, the bank card,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Do I enter it as a check, as I would enter a check, or?
So it's on account, right? So Home Depot's going to send you a bill at the end of the month, right?
No, they're going to do it on the bank card. So it comes out of our bank, a materials account.
Yeah. All right. So it's like your Visa card or your American Express or whatever?
Yeah, or the bank card.
Yeah. And so right here, there's a little number 7 here, says credit card management.
Uh-huh.
And you can set these up for bank cards as well. You would actually enter that ticket when you get it, and then basically it's going to take care of everything for you.
Oh, so that's where you would do it under accounts payable,
right. Right.
Not under your general ledger checks.
You can do that there too. I mean, it's up to you. Is it a debit card though?
Well, we have both.
Is it a credit?
We have credit cards and we have debit cards. Obviously now I enter it all through banking.
Yeah. So if it's a credit card, I would enter it here, and then when the credit card statement comes in, I just print out, I reconcile, because, by the way, I am the worst, by the way, because I never turn my tickets in. I always forget, right? So at the end of the month, when the ladies in the front here go to reconcile, I didn't get a ticket when you got gas on the 13th. I have no idea where that is, you know?
Right.
Or there's a lunch here and I don't have a ticket for it, right? Type thing. But the bottom line is, then all those charges that you didn't get a receipt for, you're going to know which ones those are, and you're just going to reconcile those.
Okay.
And the nice part is, if you're doing T&M work, think about this, if you're doing T&M and you're permitted to bill on a biweekly basis or twice a month or whatever, those are actually hitting job costs even before your credit card statement shows up.
That's what I was going to ask. I kind of started asking about it, but I didn't finish. So one of the issues that we have is with QuickBooks, it doesn't truly show the job cost because the payroll expenses go into overhead instead of going to the job cost.
Right.
So in Sage, when I run a report, that total amount, that obviously includes the workers' comp that we paid for that employee, all the taxes that we paid on top of that for him.
Yep. But everything. Yeah, everything. So your workers' comp, federal, or your Social Security, state tax, all that.
What about if we pay health insurance? Does that get shown as the?
That gets charged there too.
Oh, and the 401k match too?
Yep.
So all of that would go onto the project report. So we would get a real true cost of our burden rate, right?
To the penny.
Yeah, okay. And that would be under project management? Or?
It's just under payroll. I mean, when you set up the payroll calcs, when we're back on those payroll calcs, it's going to say, here's all the payroll calcs. He has 401k, he has health benefits, and this is what we pay for his health benefits, and this is what we deduct for his health benefits, right?
But
it's only the net amount that gets charged to your overhead.
So what report, where do I print out reports?
So in payroll, there's a whole bunch of reports.
Oh, okay.
And job cost.
Job cost.
Yeah, so if I go to, I'll just go to, I'll go to this report right here. Hang on a second. Load this up real quick. I want number 31. So if I go to any of these items right here where I have labor, let me find that real quick. So like right here is labor.
Yeah.
If I click that, this is the payroll cost, and these are the people that work on that task. That includes all of the burden plus their gross pay plus all of the associated burden.
Oh,
that the company's paid for.
Okay.
And that's the way you're estimating it, right? You're estimating your labor with full burden, right?
Right, but for us, we can't really get that report anywhere on QuickBooks.
Yeah, and so now you have a true variance. And if I go back into the report real quick, hang on a second. This is a bad example, but like 1040 here, I budgeted 2870. Well, that was my budget with labor and burden, and I spent 9600. So it's really comparing apples and apples.
Right, right. Okay. So now jumping into the estimating portion of this.
So refresh me on, you guys are GCs?
Yes.
Subbing out 90% of your work, give or take?
We don't do any new construction, so we do tenant improvements or residential remodels.
Right. But is it done by your staff or mostly by subs?
the residential is done, I'd say 80% by us and 20% by subs, and then
Okay.
The TI is done about 70% subs and then 30% us.
That helps. So let me show you two estimates here that I have samples of, okay? This is what I call my generic general contract. This is the one where a lot of your work is going to be subcontracted, okay? So it looks a little bit like Excel. It's actually our estimating module. And in this case right here, if I highlight these lines right here, I knew I had some concrete sign on this job, okay? My guy or my lady in estimating kind of thought it was going to cost $1,595. That was our budget going into it before we took prices. These are the prices I got from subcontractors. And you can have more lines of this. It's all flexible. These are the three people that quoted it to me. The only one that's going to get priced out is the one that has a quantity of 1 here.
Okay.
And so take my 3 sub prices, and now I'm going to price this out at $1,350. You know, down here I only took 1 carpentry price, and it happened to be from this person here, and what have you. So this is where I actually do a lot of my what I call the generic stuff, where I'm actually just taking prices from subcontractors.
Okay, so in other words, when you guys write a proposal, or when Sage writes a proposal, you're working off the takeoffs and you put in all the, if you get 3 bids from 3 different subs, you put it in there so that you can compare, correct?
Exactly, and then the only one that's going to go to the actual proposal will be this price right here, the $1,350 plus whatever markup you put on it.
And then when you convert it to a proposal, do you press a button and then it automatically converts to a proposal, or? Yeah,
so it does a lot of things. So one is once you get the job, it's going to move all of those budgets to the budget for accounting. It's going to create the proposal. If you're buying materials, like when you get to your remodel jobs, it's going to create the purchase orders to buy those materials, and it's going to print the subcontracts.
Can I see an example of a proposal written on here?
Yeah, it's going to be very, very, very plain. So,
okay.
and I'll do that. But let's just do it by Costco. What job am I on? 35. There's only 1 bid item on this job, so it's going to look kind of dumb. But you know what? Let me show you the proposal when I get to the other job because it has more bid items on it. Okay.
Okay.
And so here you would have different bid items. You know, and I don't know how many line items you have on your proposal, but you may have one like for mobilization, supervision, concrete, whatever. I don't know what they look like, but it would be summarized by bid item. Okay.
Okay.
And we do it that way. So this is how you do the ones that are mostly subcontracted. Okay.
Okay.
If when you get to the remodel, it'll look more like this. And let me just pull up job 27 real quick. This is Doug's Castle. Okay. In this case, this is a very large remodel. Okay. So these are the items that I'm going to quote them. I'm going to quote them a line item for concrete, 1 for carpentry, 1 for plumbing, etc. Those are the bid items. Okay. But this guy wanted a price to do a kitchen remodel, a bathroom remodel, an office addition, and then some T&M work.
Okay.
So I have different phases. So let's just look at the kitchen remodel, and if I look at finishes real quick, this gets a whole lot more detailed. Okay. So here's my cabinet installation. You know, I've done my takeoff quantity. I have 29 linear feet of cabinets. This is the price for each foot of cabinet, etc. So it's going to price it out in a lot of detail. This is up to you.
And that's,
good.
I'm sorry. So when they're writing up their estimates, they do use Excel right now. But basically, so you create an assembly. So for, you know, a cabinet installation, and then you write down everything that has to do with that, correct?
Right. That's right. They're going to recreate those in this thing. They're going to create their own assemblies. You know, we'll teach you how to do that, but and it'll take some time, and I can give you some examples of how that gets done. But this may be too much for you. You know, it's like, you know, I count the screws, right, and I count the number of shims. Maybe
right.
maybe I just have one line item that says miscellaneous supplies, and I add all these numbers up, and it comes out to like a nickel or a dime, right, or whatever it is.
Right.
I don't have to have this many lines of detail. Some people like that. Some people just have 2 lines. They may basically have a price per linear foot of cabinets and a price for linear foot of or square foot of labor.
Okay.
You know that. Make it simple.
Okay.
It's up to you. So once this is all done, you know, then I come down here, like, you know, here's my range, you know, cooktop installation, right? 2.5 hours to put that in, cut out the drawers another hour and a half, an hour of a helper, and so that's it. I just put a quantity in there. In the refrigerator, there's a 1, here's the oven installation. So you can kind of come up with the items that you constantly do, and you basically, you're right, you create a assembly to do that. But if these same items repeat from job to job, you can actually create a template that fills this whole page out at the same time, and then you just drop your prices in and update prices. And
then you could adjust it if, let's say, there's one more thing that they're doing that wasn't done on the template.
Yeah, so if I come in here and there's a lot like Excel, so these guys learn how to use it pretty quickly. I just go right-click, insert some rows, and I come in here and say special sink mount, or whatever it is, right? And I come over here and I say I need one of those, and the sink mount's going to cost me $185. Boom, I'm done.
Okay.
Okay. You can tell typing is kind of like one of my strong suits. I only got one of the 3 words right. But yeah, so you can kind of add stuff on the fly here.
Okay.
Okay. And so if I export this now, let me save this real quick. So if I say export proposal, we'll do it by bid item. All right, and if I come out of here, and now I go to proposals, and go to job 27, and we go to the kitchen remodel. So there's the stuff that came over. This is my material, my labor, my equipment, my subcontract by bid item, okay, with the markup already on it. And this is going to look really, really plain, okay? So obviously we fancy up the top, but there's your 6 bid items, the price for each bid item, and then there's the total of the contract.
What if you want more detail in it?
Yeah, so in the proposal, I can actually enter lines of text. Let me go find one real quick here. Hang on. Make this bigger. It's like this one right here. So over here in the note column, I have a whole lot of notes, okay?
Okay.
So if I print this one, totals by phase with notes, I think is the one I want. So there's my general conditions, and there's what I'm going to do. And here's my site work, and here's what I'm going to do, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, but like, so when you were doing the estimate, you had, under the assemblies, it had kind of a line item of, you know, install. I'm trying to see. When we do the estimates.
Yeah, you don't want to bring all that detail over, I don't think. Like
well, that's numbers. What we turn in our residential estimates, especially. We give them a very detailed breakdown of what we're doing.
Right.
But I mean, not with the nails or anything like that. But we'll say, you know, plastic off kitchen prior to work, cover wood flooring with ram board and resin paper, remove all appliances saved for reinstall. So that's how he puts this in Excel, and then he basically copies the cells copy over to the proposal template.
So we can put those notes in the
note section.
In the note section, and then the nice part is so hang on one second. So let me get out of here real quick. So if I come over here to like this line right here, and I want to put some notes in.
Yeah.
I just double clicked in there, and there's a little folder here. So if you already have all those notes, right, that you always use, right? I just click this, right, and it's going to put those notes in there, okay?
Oh, okay.
And so, just like you said, here's my note for masking, here's my note for appliances, here's my note for whatever. I can just go drag this out, go get that out of the list, and double click it and enter it here without having to rekey anything, and then it will print on the purpose.
Got it. Okay. And when you're doing the takeoff, there's not a space for the notes on there?
Yeah, there is.
But does it transfer over to notes?
It can.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a couple places to enter it, and everybody does it a little different. So, let me just blow this up real quick. So, like here on this note for the refrigerator,
okay,
there's a column called Export Notes.
And
I just happen to type in there that is a GE monogram model 1234. But I can make that note field as big as I want, and that will export over to the proposal.
To the proposal. Okay, got it. Okay.
And then there's like a gazillion ways to do it. And again, I'm the owner,
Right.
I got 20 or 20, I think I just got another one yesterday, 21 consultants that work for us.
Right.
They all have their own little ways of doing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I say, they may have 5 ways to do it better than I just said, but maybe 2 ways. I'm pretty smart, by the way. But yeah, they'll have a better way to do it because they see more of the people doing it on a day-to-day basis. Say, hey, I just worked with a client that did it this way, and it really works well, and they'll show you that. But they'll give you choices. They never tell you this is the only way you can do it. They're always going to say, hey, we can get that accomplished 3 different ways, and let me show them to you, and then you pick the way you like.
Okay. So when we purchased the Sage, what you sent us, and I guess you could stop recording now, I guess.
Okay, hang on a second. Yeah, let me go up here.